Alrighty, good morning everyone, and thank you so much for joining me. This is the Diana Wright Show live online, and you are welcome. I thank you, and yes, you're welcome, because it is so wonderful to have you join me this day from around the world and in the United States as we give you some news and talk about some things and give you some encouragement. And the first speech of encouragement I'm going to give you today is this that I wrote because, I think of you all the time, so I'm always writing things down. It says, get connected with yourself and disconnect all the other voices in your head. The only voice I want in your head is the one that is saying to you, I love me. That's the only voice I would like you to hear if you are a female. And for those of you guys who just don't want to say the I part, you can just say, love me. All right. So disconnect all the negatives out of your brain and only think of I love me. So once again, we thank you so much for joining us. And of course, we are asking you to like us on Facebook and give us the thumbs up. Tweet us. Give us a call, 561-228-1921. That's 561-228-1921. That's if you have any questions or you'd like to give your opinions about anything, or you just like to join the conversation when we're on live. And if you miss a show, don't forget you can catch the show on the website or on YouTube. We upload them daily. And we try to keep abreast of things. Thanks to Novelet Gale for being the technical producer here, because believe me, she's quite good at what she does. Anyway, all right. We thank you again for joining us. And we just want to start off by what else? Politics. What's going on in Washington? When is the craziness going to stop? When will the people's business be done instead of Cantor and Boehner up at the microphone every time they get a chance because they're trying to compete with the bully pulpit of the president? Yeah, and they keep repeating the same things. So, what do we do now? All right. I just wonder about them, you see, because the Republicans are having their CPAC gathering. And guess what they forgot to do? They forgot to invite the most popular governor in the country, as in Chris Christie from New Jersey, the most outspoken governor. He's quite conservative too, based on his policies and his record. But you see, the conservative movement in the Republican Party doesn't seem to like that. And they don't seem to like Chris Christie. Why? Even though I believe he's their only chance, if he decides to run in 2016, he would be the only person that could be palatable to a lot of Americans, despite the fact that he is so outspoken and seemingly abrasive sometimes, but likable. Because you see, he spoke with President Obama when his state was suffering from the most devastating storm called Sandy. And he decided to actually speak to the president, invite the president to be with him in New Jersey and tour the destruction. But no, Republicans hate that, because they don't want Democrats and Republicans to work together. And to top it off, they really, 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 really seem to hate Barack Obama. So is the conservative movement within the Republican Party just simply a bunch of haters and resenters and blockaders? Who are they? What do they want? They say they want smaller government, but why don't they quit? All of them. That will definitely put a dent and make the government smaller, don't you think? I think so. Because if you have 10 of them there and 10 of them leave, which they should do because they're doing nothing but obstructing, just maybe we start by shrinking the government right there within the conservative movement of the Congress. So I would really and truly like to ask who the conservatives really are. Were they worried and were they concerned when President George W. Bush was fighting a war without paying for it, the war in Iraq, was changing Medicare without paying for it? Or are they just looking at what Barack Obama is doing? What happened to that time when, remember, the most popular, self-employed, because he employed himself, Vice President Dick Cheney, who at the time said, don't worry about deficits. We're not worried about deficits right now. So why are the Republicans so worried about the deficit right now? And every word they say includes spending cuts? I think Speaker Boehner needs to get a new line, because every time he speaks at the podium, those are two words that he never forgets to use: spending cuts. And Mr. Cantor, who insists on talking about false choices, what exactly does that mean? Could you explain? Because we are so dumb that we don't understand what false choices mean. Everyone wants a president to lead, and everybody wants a president to compromise and reach across the aisle. I think he has kind of been doing that for the past 4 years. And I do believe that if you're facing some people in your life and you keep putting out your hand and they keep kicking your hand or stiffen it with something, eventually you will get the message and you will stop. Or you will pull your hand back before it gets chopped off with the cleaver. So why don't we as a nation look at the Republican Party and let them know how we really feel and tell them how we feel? Because what they're doing is destructive. It's ridiculous. It looks stupid to the rest of the world that two parties who are fighting for the interest of the American people cannot work together to compromise and negotiate, but the only thing they know to do is obstruct and create crisis management every moment. I wonder if we all ran our lives the way Congress runs this country, how our lives would be in chaos. What a chaotic America there would be if we decide to all take the example from Speaker Boehner, Eric Cantor, Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, and I can just go on and on and on, Marco Rubio. What kind of country would we have? Because, hey, we can just keep doing what we do. And, you know, in our households, everybody, one person just rules the roost and nobody else has a choice or a voice or anything, you know. So it's always kingmaker and that's it. And mother and father just spews hate, resentment. Don't like you because you're the middle child. Don't like you because you're the firstborn and you didn't become the doctor I wanted you to be. Who knew that we could have a country that has come down to this? Speaker Boehner could not wait to come back to Washington to compete with the president by going to the podium. And he's back at the podium with Mr. Cantor behind him again. And what did they say? The exact same thing they said yesterday. False choice, says Mr. Cantor. Mr. Boehner? Spending cuts. Okay. You both need to get a new line. I am positive that there is no way that the president and someone who is sane in the Republican Party, who is part of Congress, and no one is speaking right now to each other. I refuse to believe that, because that looks absolutely insane to me. And so I think they're just coming to the podium for the showmanship. They're just trying to let us think they're doing something, or Mr. Boehner and Mr. Cantor are, trying to impress their constituents who they think like them, which I'm hoping they don't. So they can continue to perpetuate the charade that they're putting on at the podium. I don't believe it. And I don't think you should either, because I think it's actually a false choice. Yes, let's turn Mr. Cantor's words back on him. It is a false choice for you to be doing what you're doing and saying the things you're saying. Do you love this country, Mr. Cantor and Mr. Boehner? And Mr. McConnell? And Mr. O'Rubio? And Mr. Ryan? Or are you just there for your own power and your own clout? And you continue to spew hate and hate and hate. When do you stop? When does it stop? It's crazy. It looks crazy. It is crazy. And it feels crazy. So I am here to plead with the Republicans in the Congress, led by Speaker Boehner. You all need to get your act together. And as I said yesterday, a Jesus moment would be very good, because you all claim to be so conservative and so holy. But is this what Jesus would do? Absolutely not. Get it together, Republicans. I mean, it's becoming just tired, I think. Just tired. And as our vice president, ex-vice president, Dick Cheney said, we don't need to worry about the deficit right now. Don't you see it's not working in Europe? England is now, their third dip recession? What's going on? Austerity doesn't seem to be working. It's not working in Greece either. It's not working in Italy. Where is it working? It's not working in Spain. So why do we believe that it's going to work in America? We have to fix the bridges that are falling down. There's actually one in Florida that's cracking. And the fact that they're trying to close it now to repair it, the people in Florida, in that particular area, down Flagler, I'm sure you probably don't even know where that is, they are hopping mad because they don't want the bridge to be closed, because it will create too much havoc and traffic and they lose business and all that kind of stuff. So I wonder if Speaker Boehner and Eric Cantor would like to come to Florida to talk to some of those people, to see why you can't wait until the bridges are falling down, so you have to close them and create more havoc. They need to be done. Infrastructure, that's what it's called. Oh my goodness. I am just so sick and tired of the fighting, the obstruction, the stupidity, and the showmanship in Washington. Somebody needs to take the reins and do their jobs. The president cannot pass legislation, so we know that. But the way Mr. Boehner and Mr. Cantor behaves is as if the president can pass legislation. I don't think he can. I think that's Congress's job. Don't you? All right. So lots of food for thought on the politics. And let me just remind you by using the Georgia example of how the sequester, if it goes through, will affect some of us. So I just use the Georgia example because you see, President Obama, his plan reduces the deficit by $4 trillion total. Okay? All right? Includes thoughtful spending cuts while also asking the wealthiest Americans pay their fair share. The president right now is not asking for more taxes, as Mr. Boehner and Mr. Cantor would have you to think. He's asking to close loopholes that the wealthy enjoys. All right? Okay. So, here we go. Here are some of the key facts about the sequester as it would affect a state like Georgia. The state would lose $28.6 million in funding for primary and secondary education, putting nearly 400 teachers and teachers' aides, their jobs at risk. About 80 fewer schools would receive funding. Head Start would be eliminated for 1,700 children in Georgia, reducing access to critical early education. And we don't need any more dummies. We really need them to start going to school real early. 37,000 Georgia civilian jobs in the Department of Defense would be furloughed. Devastating military base communities around Columbus, Savannah, Georgia, and elsewhere in Georgia will be affected. And over 4,000 fewer Georgia children would receive vaccines for diseases like measles, mumps, and whooping cough. So, this is what you get. That's just Georgia. I'm sure if you check Virginia and Utah, who are big military places and government contracts and all that kind of stuff, they might be worse than Georgia. So what do we do, Republicans? Are we just going to continue to hate the president and destroy the America? The America that we all supposed to love so much. What are we planning to do? Oh my goodness. Is this an OMG moment or what? As we look into the face of March 1, it's just around the corner. So, what do we do? Are we just going to sit back and wait? Or are we going to get on our phones and call Mr. Boehner, Mr. Cantor, Mr. McConnell, Mr. Ryan, Mr. O'Rubio, and then some? We need to call them in Washington and let them know, including the White House too. Somebody needs to step on the gas. And let's get moving. How about that? All right, let's move over now to Italy and tell you what's going on in Italy. Well, everybody in Italy and around the world seemingly, including the US, because our stock market plummeted yesterday based on seeing what the results were going to be. The stock market in Italy went down like 600 points. And that just kind of went around the world because everyone is shocked at the results. Basically, the election results are not what anyone expected. The general election in Italy has produced what they're calling a stalemate between the center-right and the center-left. Deadlock is basically what the result has created. All right. Center-left won in the lower house, and that's being led by Mr. Bersani. The center-right also victorious, but not quite victorious, led by Mr. Berlusconi. Who even considered that Berlusconi could come back after that devastating blow with the sex scandal and his political career was declared dead, basically? He's back, people. And his people are saying, Berlusconi's people are saying that the election in their mind is too close to call. So guess what? I guess they're thinking that they're the winner. Maybe so. So, with all domestic votes counted, Bersani's center-left bloc has narrowly beaten the former Prime Minister Berlusconi in the lower house, but failed to secure a majority in the Senate. Control of both houses are necessary to govern. So, are we going to see what's going on in Washington, in Italy, because now they have to come up with a coalition government, which kind of seem impossible at this particular time, or they're going to have another election. How is that? How confusing. No winner. No clear winner. Well, they said Mr. Bersani, he was planning to bring normal folks into the parliament, like housewives and teachers and business people and regular folks. He was planning to make them part of parliament. So, I guess the folks did not really get the message very, very straight, because no one really won. How about that? No one won. I don't know. Mr. Berlusconi, he just shocked everybody. No one, including Germany, wanted this type of result. Because you do know that Italy has major economic woes. And with this kind of political dilemma, nothing moves forward. And how so? And you're wondering, why are we talking about Italy? Because the economy is global. Everything is global. And what happens in Europe affects us here in America. And that's the reason I stress that we must and we need to travel beyond our borders, widen our scope, and learn about other cultures, their governments, their food, their culture in general, because it only helps us to understand what's going on and how it affects us and how it affects our pockets. Because yes, it does. If you are in the market, it's going to affect you. Look at yesterday. Yesterday was just a disaster for the Dow. So we need to make ourselves interested in what's going on in this global world of ours. And as we move to some kind of, really sad news coming out of Egypt, in a city called Luxor, it's kind of sad because when you go on vacation, you don't expect to not come back home. But 19 people who went on that hot air balloon ride in Egypt are no longer with us, because they died because one of the tanks exploded. Lots of tourists were trying to jump for safety. Only 2 survivors. 1 tourist, and I gather one of the pilots or the driver, whatever his title is. So, and that's the reason we need to live in the now, and we need to take the time now to love ourselves, to look inward, and to operate from within our hearts, and allow ourselves to love ourselves and teach our children to love themselves. Stop worrying about the other person. Think about you. You don't need fixing. Nothing is wrong with you. You're perfectly made by God. And you are truly loved by God. So if you love yourself and you live one day at a time, and sometimes just about in the moment by moment, you cannot afford to not live that way. Because see, people go on vacation to Egypt to have a wonderful time in the hot air balloon ride. But where are they now? They won't be going back home. This is a lesson to us. I spoke about the young lady yesterday who was found in the water tank at the hotel in Los Angeles, California. So when we go on our vacation, and when we decide to keep malice with our friends and our parents, because some people actually keep malice with their parents, we should remember that tomorrow may never come. So we should do what we need to do in a loving way this day, this moment. Don't wait. Don't wait to hug and kiss and tell your children that you love them, because you just might not see them again. Just look at this. It's incredible. People from France, from Britain, from Japan, from Hong Kong. Those were all the countries that were represented in that one hot air balloon as it exploded. And 19 people are dead and will not go back home to their loved ones. So as we pursue the system of hate that we have in this country, the hate between Republicans and Democrats, the hate of President Barack Obama by the Republicans and the Tea Party and the conservatives, whatever they call themselves, it is not worth it. Because we're put here to live abundantly and prosperously and in unison and in happiness and joy and peace and love. So every time I see one of these incidents, especially when someone goes on vacation, it simply breaks my heart to know the hate that we constantly feel and see and experience on a daily basis in the United States of America, whether it's through racism or your friend just not feeling to speak to you because of some stupid stuff. Even if they're in the wrong, they don't want to talk. The malice, the jealousy, the envy, it's not worth it. Cleanse your hearts and look to God for your answers, because answers are not in man. And though we're not supposed to mourn and cry if someone dies, says the Bible, we all mourn and we all cry anyway. So to the families from around the world, basically, we offer our sympathy courtesy of the Diana Wright Show live online. And we hope that this is a lesson to each and every one of us, that we cannot afford to wait to love ourselves and to give love and to show love. And don't forget that love is actually an action word. You can't just say it. You have to do. You have to show it by your actions. Wow. Okay. So I'm told that this particular hot air balloon ride is a very popular thing in Egypt. There were several other balloons that went up and landed safely. And there's not been an accident in a lot of years. So, what happened? No one knows. One of the tanks exploded, and this is the result. 19 people are now gone. All right. Wow. Thank you again for joining us as you're watching the Diana Wright Show live online. Just reminding you of the telephone number, just in case you'd like to contact us. It's 561-228-1921. That's 561-228-1921. You can call us for various reasons. You can email us. You can, just love us on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up and tweet us and email us at dianawrighttv@gmail.com. You can visit our website and go to our web store and purchase one of our t-shirts that simply says, I love me. We have the wife beaters and we have regular t-shirts, and we have t-shirts for men also. And if the men would like the I love me on it, we will do so. But basically we are recommending the love me slogan without the I for the man, because we think it sounds a little more masculine and macho. All right. So those are some of the things that we invite you to do. If you'd like to be a sponsor of the show, we would welcome you to give us a call. And if you'd like to advertise on the program, or you'd like to just be a partner, wonderful. We'd be happy to hear from you. Also, if you'd like to have me speak at your occasion or your church or your gathering, we welcome your phone calls also. We're also wanting and asking you on behalf of Save a Life Jamaica Foundation to circle the date, October 5. A great event is planned for that day. We'll tell you more about it as we go along. But just remember that you'll be saving a life. So start saving your pennies and your quarters and your dollars right now so you can have enough money. It won't be a lot of money, only $20. So we ask you to save that, put it aside, because you will actually be using that $20 to save a life, courtesy of Save a Life Jamaica Foundation, the president, Novlet Gale, and of course, we are hoping to give you a wonderful event. So we just want you to save that date so you have nothing else planned for that evening. All right, moving right along now to Pope Benedict. The scandal continues to rage in Italy about the sex abuse in the Catholic Church. But of course, you know that the report that came out will not see the eyes of you and I. It will only see eyes from Pope Benedict and his successor, the next Pope, which we hope will be in place before Easter. And that means about March 17th. Pope Benedict, though, in case you're wondering what he will be called, since he is alive and we have not had a living Pope in a very long time, he will be called Pope Emeritus and will retain the honor of being referred to as His Holiness after his resignation comes into effect on Thursday, which is February 28th. Also, he will continue to wear his robe if he is in public, but he will not be wearing the cape portion of the robe. So for your information, that's how we will see the Pope as of Friday morning. Yeah. But as we await Friday morning, we are not looking very good in the U.S. because the sequester, you see, looms over our heads. Even though we know, Congress knows, the president knows, everyone knows that Congress, led by Speaker Boehner, can fix the problem in about 5 minutes. So while we await them to do it at the last moment, we will see what happens come Thursday at midnight. Don't hold your breath, though. You might just not be awake on Friday. All right. Anyway, a little humor to lighten the atmosphere inside the Diana Wright Show live online. Our new Secretary of State, John Kerry, he got lost in the zoo in London as he was on a children field trip. Also, our Secretary of State decided that he would not be speaking French when asked at the news conference in France. He simply said, I would have to, or I would need to refresh my French before I do so. And also, yesterday they thought he made up the name of his own country. I can't even pronounce it. But I will try to figure it out because I don't think there's any country with that name, courtesy of our Secretary of State, John Kerry. But we love him and we continue to support him just the way we did with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. All right, so just a light note to give you a smile after all the seriousness, the Republicans and the accident in Egypt and the Pope. Wow, let's continue. Something again serious as it affects health. I'm sure a lot of you know of the furniture store called IKEA, which is a European Swedish company that makes furniture that is affordable and you can put it together yourself from kitchens to desk to, as a matter of fact, my desk right here comes from IKEA. If you don't want to spend a bundle and you want something that works and is good, then IKEA is one of the places to go. But IKEA is having some issues because, they have a restaurant in the store which, sells Swedish meatballs and a host of other things on the menu. But the problem is All the IKEAs in Europe, in those restaurants, inside of their store, their meatballs have been now tainted and taken out by IKEA because those meatballs have been tested. And what has been found in the meatballs, you might ask? Horse meat. So my question is the IKEAs in the United States affected by this horse meat? Where exactly does the meat to make the meatballs come from? Well, we are told that it's highly unlikely to happen here because our meat is tested and tested and tested. But some people are saying that some of our meat is packaged in places like Mexico and other places. So how can we know for sure that the Swedish meatballs that we all probably partake of when we go to IKEA if we're hungry does not have horse meat? Is there something wrong with horse meat? I don't know. Never had it. But is horse meat similar to cow's meat? Or is it not? Well, we're being asked to stop eating red meat if we want to save our hearts anyway, with the Mediterranean diet. So maybe the horse meat is not so important since we're going to take a break from red meat. After all, we don't have to worry what we're buying in the supermarket. I guess if it's labeled horse meat and you buy it by choice because you read the label, it's okay. But is horse meat something that we should be eating or should we not be? And I see that there's a place that there's worry now about donkey meat. Oh my goodness. How many things do we have to bear and ponder and worry about every single day as we survive on this planet? How many things do we need to worry about? I say, worry about none of them. Just continue to live in the supernatural like I try to do on a daily basis. And don't sweat the small stuff, as the author did say. Don't sweat the small stuff. And as I mentioned, author, I need to tell you and remind you about my book that's coming out soon called Deadly Negligence. It's a book that will tell you all the tragedy and devastation and trauma that I've experienced for the past 5 years. Yeah. So I decided to put it on paper and how it affected my family. But despite all of that, here I am, talking with you around the world and in the United States. And I'm here to tell you that no matter how dark your tragedy is, your moment is, there is indeed light at the end of that tunnel. And if you truly believe and trust God and have crazy faith, and know that you will receive grace, unmerited favor from God every single day, you will indeed get out of the hole that you're in. Because believe me, I was in a very dark place for a while. So was my daughter and my family in general. But now I have some of my family members saying, because of your miracle, I now truly believe that there is indeed a God. And God is still in the business of working miracles. So, as you await the book, Deadly Negligence, written by Diana Wright, I promise you it will be a good read. And if you'd like to order it before it even comes out, you can do that too. That would be wonderful. How about that? So, moving right along as we worry about horse meat. I wonder if there's someone out there who can kind of educate me. I'm going to do some research about it. Is it supposed to be eaten, or is this just something new, and is this a big mistake that was made? Or was someone just trying to get rich quick because they had horses. What is going on? It's been going on for a while. And now it has hit a company, IKEA, that we all, or a lot of us, do go to. Because when you go to IKEA in Pembroke Pines, it is so crowded all the time. No matter what time of day you go there, people are everywhere. All right, I promise you that. So I wonder how many people are going to continue to eat the meatballs here, even though they've taken it out of the stores in Europe, because the owners of the company decided to pull Swedish meatballs. So if you go to Europe and you're going to an IKEA, then you won't be able to have any Swedish meatballs. But they don't think they need to pull the meatballs from the stores in the United States. So that's the reason I'm asking, do we need to worry about that? Do we need to concern ourselves about that? Or do we just need to not eat the meatballs until the matter is clarified? How about that? Maybe we just need to kind of hold off on the meatballs until we are crystal clear whether they have horse meat or they don't. And if they do have horse meat, is horse meat something that we need to be eating or should be eating? Or is it one of those no-nos? All right. In Jamaica, I just saw some news in Jamaica today. And that news is quite interesting. Because you see, technology is moving so fast that it's creating a major problem in Jamaica for the national security and also for the police in Jamaica. Why, you ask? Because a lot of Jamaicans are just doing too much texting. So what they're doing, they're texting to tip off the criminals when the cops are coming. They're texting to create all kind of don't drive here because this is happening there. But the most dangerous of the texting is when they're texting criminals and the police go and the criminals are already gone. Because you do see that the criminals also have a BlackBerry or a cell phone. They mention BlackBerry in particular because it seems like that's a very popular brand in Jamaica right now. So it's creating a problem for the Ministry of National Security, and it's also creating problems for the cops. So while we sit here in the United States and we beg people and we plead with people not to drive and text, the authorities in Jamaica have to worry about texting and tipping off the criminals. Or texting to say the cop is down there with a speed trap. Lower your speed. Texting is being used for good things in Jamaica, but it's also creating other problems. So, just thought that's something you might want to know, just in case you're taking a vacation in Jamaica very soon. So, make sure you know what you're doing. I'm sure they're watching you if you're texting and wondering who you're texting and what you're doing. So, texting can be good, but it can be a major, major security problem. All right. We have to bring up a story that we did yesterday again because it's still trending online. It's still, people are angry with Marissa. Yes, people are very angry with her, Marissa Mayer, the 37-year-old youngest CEO of Yahoo, because she decided to give the staff who are telecommuting an ultimatum. And how you feel about ultimatums. People don't like them. People resent them. People don't want them. If it's a guy you're trying to get to marry you, do not give him an ultimatum, because he will walk most of the times. Maybe not 100% of the time, but most of the times he will either walk or he will refuse to propose. Because men, you see, don't like to be given ultimatums and feel intimidated by their female partner. And so Marissa Mayer 37-year-old, which I think you really, when you get to 40s, when you really understand and make sober decisions, because I don't think this was a sober decision. Because if you're going to say to people who have contracts and agreements with your company already to telecommute, that you're giving them the ultimatum to come to the office or quit, is that your decoy way of saying you're fired, but I'm allowing you to fire yourself just in case you don't agree with my policy? And we should never assume that a 39-year-old pregnant appointed CEO of Yahoo is going to think about women's rights or women's issues when it concerns you wanting to stay home with your children and you can be just as efficient and effective at home. Maybe Miss Marissa Mayer should have thought about ways to have her telecommuters be more productive and don't just kind of give a blanket ultimatum. I think that would have gone over a little better if she had said to them, look, you have to be more productive and you have to do XYZ to continue telecommuting because it's not good for the company. Instead, she believes that she should take her Google model, where she was before, to Yahoo, because at Google, you see, they like FaceTime. They like to gather and meet and everybody get along and, you know, people communicate at lunch and have a wonderful time and all that kind of stuff. But Yahoo, different atmosphere. Telecommuting, because remember now, it is indeed an internet company. But how harsh can you be as a new CEO of a company to say, I'm giving you an ultimatum? Is that the way we're supposed to rule? Is that an iron fist kind of ruling? Or just kingmaker? And who was she trying to impress by having her baby and coming back to work as a CEO after 2 weeks? Who does that? You go back to work after I don't even think your body's healed in 2 weeks. Well, mine wasn't. I don't know if she had a C-section or a natural regular birth, but whatever it is, 2 weeks? I don't think you're even bonded with the baby after 2 weeks. Is she taking the baby to work with her at Yahoo, or is she not? Is she working long hours and she don't see that baby? What kind of parent is she going to be? And who is she trying to impress by going back to work after 2 weeks? I did not say 2 months, people. I said 2 weeks. I find that incredible. And I find that to be quite a wow moment. I don't know anyone in my circle of friends or in my little lifetime growing up hearing that anyone went back to work after 2 weeks. Well, she definitely could not be in China. Because in China, they don't even want to see you outside for a month after you have that child. And when you are pregnant, they want you to be inside, making sure you're not taking showers or anything that you could fall down and lose that baby. Because remember, they have a one-child policy over there. So, Miss Marissa Mayer, Miss 37-year-old, I think you need to go back to the drawing board and kind of reevaluate what you need to do at your company before you lose a lot of people, because a lot of people are so hopping mad, even if it didn't affect them by no means. They are just mad about this whole thing. And don't forget Sir Richard Branson, who is saying he's never had an office. And he is saying and telling Ms. Mayer that she is going backwards because he's never had an office and he would not want to have an office. And people are so creating this little world with their little office and their little cubicles and their desks. Are they being productive at home when they can also be parent at home? Are they doing what Yahoo asks them to do? Now, if they're not, that's a different story. But that's not the way she presented the whole thing. She says that if we are going to be together, we need to be here. Here at Yahoo, present. So, Maybe we all should find Miss Mayor's office and go and pay her a visit so we can all be there. So if you're a Yahoo, person, you love Yahoo. I know Miss Gail loves Yahoo. So maybe she could take a trip to Miss Mayor's office and see how much Miss Mayor cares about women's issues and women staying home with their children, yet being productive with their job and their work. Because most parents, I think, when they're home, they're not goofing off and not doing the work. Some of the people who work for Yahoo, who actually go to work and go to the company, they're saying that they don't think people, were being totally productive and people were taking advantage of the system. And some people could not recall the last day they were ever at the office. And they're coming up with a lot of things. But remember now, people who are there, who have to go to the office, they are not being affected by this ultimatum. So the fire is not actually burning on their roof, so they just can talk and say anything they want to say because it's not really affecting them. But how does this affect a mother who is working and want to be with her children while she works? She can close the door and she can do her work without being disturbed by her children if they're properly trained, yes. And she can be just as productive at home in her office, because I gather that when you work from home as a telecommuter, they have to actually come to your home and see the space that you're working at and making sure that it's actually conducive to work and it's a separate area from the rest of your, household activities and drama. So I gather that most companies have to actually approve the area that you work at. But there's always going to be one stupid person who decides to goof off and turn their assignment in late or put in more hours than they actually worked or some kind of dishonest thing like that. But why would one person or two people cause everyone else to lose what they actually need and want? I thought we were told that telecommuting actually will save, energy and, people don't need cars for work and hence, they can just drive their cars on weekends and they'll be saving fuel and all this kind of wonderful stuff about telecommuting. So I guess telecommuting is not a good thing then, based on Marissa Mayer's ultimatum to her staff. Come on in or quit. I do believe, though, that this is a way to lay people off from Yahoo because she is interested in the bottom line. And maybe, just maybe, the easiest way to get rid of some people is to tell them, if you don't come in, quit. So when they quit, nobody can say, Marissa Mayer, 37-year-old CEO, laid off lots of telecommuters at Yahoo. Or they can't say, Miss Mayor, new CEO, has decided to fire X amount of people without reason. Because what's her reason? I'm sure they just did not decide to stay home on their own. I'm sure they couldn't have done that. They must have gotten permission from someone. So where is that someone in this equation? Is that HR? Is that another manager? Is that the ex-CEO? Who is it that's responsible for these telecommuters to stay home and do their jobs from home? I'd like to know that. Because if that person is still working at Yahoo, who made that decision and gave all those people the permission, which I'm thinking it could be and should be HR, after the managers agreed on it, HR would be the final word or the final process to go through. So I guess those people need to get ultimatums too. Ms. Mayor. Okay. All right. Another story that actually needs to be repeated is something, and a lot of people are kind of lamenting about this, because we didn't know and we were not able to imagine that we could have places in America that's referred to as the most miserable cities in the country. Now, the people in New York are not happy about this list. The people in Chicago are not happy about this list. But they made the list anyway. And when you see the video and the photos that they placed with these names of cities, if I was in one of those cities, I'd be mad too. Yes. I'm so happy that where I live, it was not included. Because that would not be pretty. I actually thought that Miami would have been on that list. But it's not. Because you see, Miami has South Beach and the most beautiful people who come to model, and the magazines who come to take pictures, and the tourists who come to enjoy themselves in their nakedness, because most of the times they barely have any clothes on at South Beach, and all the fun that you experience at South Beach. And you should go to enjoy and explore the experience, so you know when someone is actually talking about South Beach, you've actually been there, especially if you live in Florida. You have people who live here in Florida and they've never been to South Beach. Why not? You should go. You should see and be aware of what's happening within your state. So I encourage you to go to South Beach, and to go to Las Olas, and to go to Hollywood Boulevard, and all of those places that are good places to go, enjoy yourself, and see what else is happening apart from the four walls of your house or your little gathering or community that you go through on a daily basis. I encourage you to do so. And I encourage you to spread the word about the Diana Wright Show live online that is here for you, to give you all the information you need, all the encouragement that you need to love yourself first, teach your children to love themselves, look in the mirror every single day of your life and tell yourself, I love me. I do not want anyone else's life but my life. Nothing is wrong with me and I do not need to be fixed. And when April 30th come, which the Diana Wright Show live online has declared as the National I Love Me Day, I want you to write that down on your calendar, circle it bright so you can't miss it or forget it, and spread the word. April 30th is National I Love Me Day. All right? So, here's our final story for today as time runs out as usual. New York City has made the list, of course, I just mentioned, for the most miserable city in America. Lake County, Illinois, Rockford in Illinois, Stockton, California, Vallejo, California, Modesto, California, Chicago, Flint, Michigan, and none other than Detroit. So, if you live in those places, we hope that you're not miserable. We hope that you're doing great. We hope that you love yourself. And we hope that you will always be joining us here on the Diana Wright Show live online every single day, 10:30 a.m. and 8 p.m. for those of you who are at work and maybe can't log on to your computer with my show on it. And of course, we welcome those of you around the world and in the United States, and we thank you for being with us today. So, if you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it was never yours. And as you circle October 5, which will be the event of the year for Save a Life Jamaica Foundation, asking you to save a life. And as you also circle April 30th for the National I Love Me Day, which will come first, of course, we encourage you to go out and make it a great day, a blessed day, a super day. And always remember that you are the most important person on the planet. You are the star of your own movie, And let me just remind you of how I started the show. Get connected with yourself and disconnect all the other voices in your head. Right now, I ask you, and I invite you to come out of the depression or whatever you're in that makes you blue and come into the green and live your life. Enjoy the moment because tomorrow is not promised. Once again, thank you for joining me and have a great day. Ciao. Adios. Au revoir. Okay.